Good morning, my fellow yoga travelers. I'm mighty glad to be alive today, and I hope that you are too, as we continue to live, laugh, love, learn, linger, and live the life we love. It's Friday, so it's my PowerPoint presentation day, and today we're talking about what I call a plausibility structure. It's how you build your world in terms of a societal view. It's the way that you organize yourself against chaos, against alienation, against estrangement, or sometimes we use the word enemy, which means like a kind of boredom. So you build yourself a bulwark. It's a defense when you're under pressure. You have to make sure you got space for yourself to exist. So, like it's a fortress that you build for your own good. Maybe in the old days it literally kept out the Huns or the Mongols or whoever. But it also becomes a bulwark against knowing who you are. Oh, here's a great quote from Wolfgang von Goethe. The person of analytical, critical intellect finds something ridiculous in everything. The person of synthetic or constructive intellect in almost nothing. So, no critical intellect legitimizes reality. There's so much that's wrong with it. So you have to see it from another point of view if you're not going to be lost in a kind of divisiveness or split or dual way of understanding things. Oh, I love this one. Marketing is everywhere. God is everywhere. Ergo, marketing is God. How about that? No religion has guaranteed its adherents at this point. Each has to vie for its own market share. All right. Allegiance is voluntary and is less than certain in a pluralistic society. So it's hard for us to understand what this really means anymore because we're not committed to seeing us. We still see separateness between ourselves and other people who look differently, talk differently, think differently, believe differently, and act differently. So since nobody has a definition, or monopoly on a reality definition anymore, can you pick up the best of what people have conjured up and throw away the worst, the superstitious, the historically baneful, the mistakes that we've all made in the name of religion? Because I believe you can't expel the religious impulse, but organized religion, like Ram Dass used to say, God says I'll create truth and devil says good, I'll organize it. So can we see religion as not just literal and historical, but metaphoric and symbolic? Because it conveys a message, and sometimes fiction can say more truth than fact can. The underlying meaning of these teachings has moral, social, religious, political significance. And the characters in these stories represent every person, every man, as they used to say. And their personifications, the abstract ideas, charity, greed, envy, compassion, love. So I love the stories and not just a literal interpretation. So this is what's happened in our day and age, and it's happened rapidly. So these changes are happening within years or decades rather than hundreds or even thousands of years of change. Secularization, miniaturization, digitization, democratization, pluralization, modernization. These are the keys to the paradigm shift, to being able to break through the stranglehold of the cages we've been all living in, the mental crouch we've all been living in for so long. And instead, I certainly think there's a place for faith, but it begins after science and its demand for evidence-based understanding. So the naturalistic claim that explains away, or we excised all the supernatural elements, it's found in the modern day, not in the pre-scientific culture. So there seems to be no evidence externally, unless you project upon it, of supernatural forces rather than the natural unfolding of evolution and natural selection. So that's why we suspect that all religions that don't accept this aspect up to the point where now faith is what's leading you and not evidence. So that's why I like to say the disequilibrium theory that's knocking everything over and making everything less than balanced or perfect, whatever, is equally valid as the equilibrium theory. And certainly I feel in our life we ought to do the things that I call negentropy that help counter the aging process, slow it down at least a little bit. But ultimately, chaos is always there. It's just as valid a theory. Disequilibrium is just as valid a theory as equilibrium. So I appeal to the wounded healer in you, each one of us bears the scars of a rugged process. Nobody gets through without getting, in some way, broken, and the broken heart is the only one worth having. So you learn the difference between healing and curing. You can't always get rid of the symptom, and ultimately everyone's going to die. So just like in hospice, it's not a failure, but you can't cure everything. But you can go for healing, and maybe you get cured, maybe you don't, but you can heal yourself in the process. So I'm one of the persons sticking up for the broader aspects of yoga, not to desacralize yoga, but see the context, the deep beauty and holiness that's behind what yogis strive for. And so I've been fortunate enough to be initiated, but so many young people have lost the initiatory structure, the oral structure, to hear the ear whispered teachings from the mouth of your own guru or mentor. But if you don't have one, where do you look to for wisdom? Advertising, celebrities, sports figures, politicians? I don't think so. So ultimately, yoga teaches you that the university where you study, the gym where you work out, and the temple where you devote yourself, they're overlapping disciplines. This is a psychosomatic discipline, like subjects that overlap one another: biochemistry, astrophysics, transpersonal psychology. So the university is where you practice jnana yoga and hone your intellect. The gym is where you practice karma yoga and do your workout, take postures to the nth degree. And the temple is where you do devotion. You go inside and you open your heart so you can be a compassionate human being filled with joy and dealing with the empathy of life suffering. So that's it. What's ethics? Very simple. Have guidelines for human behavior, study moral choices and values, and choosing between right and wrong, or as I like to say it, correct yourself on the same principles you correct others, and excuse others on the same principle you ask to be excused yourself. Why does the world never run down? Well, that's another story I'll have to tell you at a different time. But until now, check the plausibility structure and see what you cling to. And remember, no one has a monopoly on reality definition in our day and age. Next Wednesday is the next Good Vibrations class called Yoga Escape into Life, 11 to 1. Go to GabrielHalpern.com and sign up. I look forward to seeing you there. Have a great weekend.